So unfortunately, no time for small talk. I'm Shanoo, and I'm going to rush straight into my presentation. I just want to say that it's a pleasure and an honor being here with you today. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being a captive audience for me. So here I am, and here's the presentation. It's called Consequences of Procrastination. Just a small aside, being an anal designer and always trying to plan ahead, I had actually called to find out what aspect ratio the screen would be, but unfortunately it's not 16:9, so the presentation will be a little small on the screen. I apologize for that. I'm going to start by actually popping open the debate by expanding the horizon, and I'm going to share with you an interview with two of the most well-known design proponents, Yves Behar and Tim Brown, and here's what they have to say about design thinking.
It's a fundamental notion of design, and I would go even further. It's not just change, it's really breaking what was there before. And you know, all of us have experience going to a hospital or a clinic, and that experience probably needs to be broken and rebuilt into something entirely different. A lot of designers today don't just design, they actually create new companies that break the old model. I mean, I would use, you know, Airbnb, for example, you know, as an example.
Okay, so I'm going to have to cut his talk, but basically what I want to do today is shift your thinking. We're going to be thinking in a new realm, in a new paradigm. You know, if we had to think once again where we were and where we are, who can tell me what does the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company manufacture today? 55,000 products. Yes, you're right. It's huge. These are big numbers that you can see here in terms of people employed, places that they're in, and whoever guessed it's 3M is right. What does their website look like? It's about childlike curiosity, and childlike curiosity means the ability to experiment, discover, innovate. And this is really what saved the company from going downhill. It saved them from a precipice of disaster, because we know that they started with the intent of mining a mineral and an ore to fabricate grindstones, but what they moved into is 55,000 products, which we all use today, and that is exactly what saved them. So who is the mother of design and innovation? I can hazard, and I can say quite confidently, it is change, and we all have to be ready for this change. According to Forbes, yes, we designers do read. According to Forbes, the average lifespan of a successful S&P 500 company was 67 years in the 1920s. Today, we're seeing that it is getting shorter and shorter, only about 15 years. The big mistakes companies are making, I'm sure you're all familiar with, when you get successful quickly, you want to keep doing what you're good at. Big companies, and I love this word, I've picked it up from a website, which is from Why Good Companies Go Bad. And the word that I like here is active inertia. Newton's law of motion, you continue doing what you were doing until someone or something literally pushes you off that track. And this is what a lot of large companies are seen to be doing. Small companies that grow fast as well as large companies, they freeze. They think they've been doing what they're doing and they're successful, let's continue doing that. Now, you should definitely champion what you're good at, but if you don't change, you're doomed for disaster. For example, we all know, where do you look for jobs? No kidding. There are companies who've seen the opportunity to connect better, faster, and more efficiently with people, and they have stepped in and created alternatives. And therefore, you see a lot of companies who haven't changed fall behind. So what does design do? Where does innovation and design fit in? It's really an opportunity to change lives, to influence people, create new markets, and create large impact. We need to think about how we can push beyond the traditional and find new ways of engaging with customers. What's the biggest disruptor to any business? Once again, I'd hazard it's customers, because customers are changing. In India, our demographic is such that millennials' expectations are changing every day. Millennials want to experience rather than be told. I've heard and read, since I'm not part of that group anymore, that they'd rather walk than take a car, because that's where they can absorb and engage and experience and see, feel, touch, rather than be told about things. So it is really important to meet the expectations of customers, or else.
Thank you for calling My name is Mark. How are you doing today?
I am absolutely, I am your worst nightmare.
I think we've all experienced this. This is what happens when a company actually grows beyond capacity and is unable to connect one-on-one with their customers. They resort to other businesses or means to connect with their customers, and there is here an opportunity lost in building and creating belief in one's brand. So how can design help one stay on top of one's game? I've heard and noticed and read a lot lately about companies who are actually creating an innovation culture within an organization. People are encouraged to take time off to think new, to think afresh. In fact, that's also what 3M has done, and it's proved very successful for them. But one must remember that design is a handmaiden to innovation. You can have the most brilliant ideas, but if they're not designed well, if they're not packaged well, if they don't touch all the senses, if they don't create the memory of the benefit of the product or service, then you're not going to be that successful. So what is a brand? It's actually the memory of benefits experienced, and here is where design has a really important role to play. I'd like to stop here, I'd like to pause here to say that things have changed dramatically in the industry of design and architecture and engineering, which was once so beautifully fused. At the beginning, design was about solutions to big problems. And when I'm talking about big problems, I'm talking about things like, how do you get a mass of people from one city to another, or from one region to the other? Design a railroad, design a ship. Those were big problems with big solutions. Slowly over time, as we got educated and realized that design can be compartmentalized, design became more and more about the function and the aesthetic. It became more about incremental change, making products look better. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. This is good for a lot of businesses. But let's also try and constantly push design into where it actually belongs, which is making path-breaking changes, which is about being disruptive, which is about being strategic. When I speak to my clients, I often show them this diagram because, they come to me and they say, I've got a problem, need a solution, it should be a quick jump from A to B, and I say, no, hey, hold on. Design is complex, it's extremely robust, it is collaborative. There are many processes that happen simultaneously, and these processes require you and us to constantly be in dialogue, to reject, to accept, to eliminate the mundane, as we position ourselves as. You define your purpose, you question your purpose, you get under the skin of the purpose, understand, observe, synthesize behaviors, collaborate on solutions, ideate. And here is, where you really go wild, think laterally, interpret, find a solution that you think works, prototype it, and then evaluate it again and validate it. So this is what I tell my clients. Don't expect us to give you a solution immediately. Design is a very deep, complex, and robust process. So the question is, how do you go beyond what limited expectations there are? How do you design, for example, a vibrant culture? These are questions we constantly ask ourselves when we are approached with opportunities. How do you have a positive effect on people's lives? Because finally, all design is human-centered. Can we take design thinking to a higher level and apply it to problems that are more strategic? This is something that we have been doing and have been attempting to do and been doing it successfully for many years. And we can see there's a change in perception and expectations. I'm going to take you, what I've done is I've crunched this presentation greatly because of time limitations, but I'm going to quickly take you through some of the ways in which we help our clients and work with our clients. So who needs design thinking, or who needs design? Banking and finance. Now, banking and finance is supposed to be dry, it's supposed to be about numbers, but is it really? It is about connecting with the human being at their most vulnerable. It's when they come in for loans, it's when they come in for securities, it's when they come in to make their lives better. So what does design and design thinking have to do with banking and finance? We've had a fortunate run with very successful projects with several banks and several finance companies who've come to us. I'm going to share with you one of them which just concluded. It's a project that just concluded. ICICI Bank approached us to develop their green branches. very exciting. They came to us and they said they want a branch which is paperless. So intent, make it paperless, use materials that are eco-friendly and certified. We said, okay, great. And then when we went back, we said, hey, this is an opportunity to actually create the idea of a green bank within a bank. What does that mean? It's the idea to sensitize your customers and actually involve them as participants in the idea of taking care of the environment and participating in their own small ways. So, what did we do? Of course, there are many aspects to design, like I told you. One is we seeded the idea with the client that we want to involve your customers. You've got huge traction, lots of customers. We want them to be involved in taking home with them knowledge on what they can do in their personal lives. For example, when they're making their homes, what are the materials they should choose? If they are lighting up their houses, whether they should use LED lights, etc. So this is something we proposed to them and they loved. The second part is, of course, the functional design aspect. And like we heard about from you, using nature and embedding nature in order to get the forms of the space correct so that the vocabulary of the space actually talks about greening and about concepts which are soft and gentle and embracing. So this is the plan of the branch. Of course, there are functional aspects to it. So there's a 24/7 public access ATM zone, and then there's a green bank right in the center. Now, this green bank is the bank within the bank. It's the repository of information. While customers are waiting their turn, they can actually sit here and they can search, they can find out what they can do to each contribute to conservation, to saving materials, environment, which are certified materials, etc. So this is what it looked like in construction. We created a communication layer which talked about banking on a greener future. We punned, a bad word, but we punned on financial terms like diversification. And we said, you know what, diversification is good, but apply it to nature and you'll really appreciate what diversification has taught us. Consciousness is our greatest currency. So we want them to enter the space and have a surround experience of how they can contribute. Let's strive to manage all our assets, including our liquid assets, save water. Let's give better returns on investment and energy. Change your bulbs to LEDs. So these are some of the communication that we were suggesting to the client that we should have. The distance between yes and no is no greater than 2 buttons on an ATM. Don't print. Don't take printouts. And who's ever seen a bank that looks like this? So this is what we were proposing, a green wall, an environment where they can actually discover how they are participants to a larger idea. Pods, which are, of course, inspired by the petals of a flower. And the plan is that each branch will have a different flora or fauna as an inspiration, and therefore the story goes wider. So it's not just one branch, it's not interior design, it's about a story, it's about linking it to a brand, and it's about delivering something larger. These are some of the photographs. I'm not very excited to say that it didn't go all the way in the sense that all the concepts of graphics were stalled in their tracks because of the brand, the requirements to stay with the brand. But we did get to a certain extent, and we're happy that we could push the client's thinking to a certain extent and create something that will truly provide an unusual experience to customers. Okay, I think I'm going a little slow. Manufacturing, nobody goes to a factory to buy products. So what does a designer do? A designer can create an environment, touch points, memories of their experience while buying the products. Tata Group came to us last year, Tata Motors, and they said to us, and they'd come back to us after 12 years. 12 years ago, we had done their retail experience design for their passenger vehicles. Their commercial vehicles division came to us last year and said, we need a revamp. Business was not looking very good, is not looking good, I must say. The environment was, very downward looking. And they said, can design help us invigorate our brand as well as our products? And what we did is we said, you need to give us 1 month. Don't expect us to jump in and start giving you solutions. Give us 1 month where we spend and we have carte blanche to enter any dealership. And what we did during that 1 month is we went to a whole lot of dealers, large selling, small selling dealers, and we shadowed their customers, we shadowed the employees, we shadowed the truck buyers, fleet owners, we had interviews with them, and then we compiled all our findings into little movies. For example, something like this, but So as you can see here, what we did is we brought our findings to the customer. Some of them happy, some of them not happy, but we said, you know, this is the real truth. This is what dealers are saying. Dealers are saying we want change. Dealers are saying that displays in space are cost-driven. They're saying, you know, a whole lot of things. Some of them are saying Tata Motors is not helping us enough. Why aren't they marketing enough? We want a dynamic look. Why can't the customer journey be planned? Can we create a cult like Harley Davidson? Then we went to customers and we talked, and when I'm talking about customers, I'm talking about going to truck nakas, toll nakas, and speaking to the truckers, and we heard their areas of pain as well as what they were enjoying. And we brought all this to the customer. So we said, this is what the customer, and then we went to the employees in each of the dealers, and the employees had their own points of view. And what we did is we made 4 movies for our client to express to them the service design aspects, the brand aspect, the design of the experience itself, and we said, okay, now here are the key areas that need change. This is our analysis and conclusion. And one of them was customer discrimination. The truckers felt they were discriminated against while the fleet owners were getting better preference. Employee motivation and training was an issue. A lot of customers felt that Tata Group was very slow to change. Products were not moving as quickly as they should. There seemed to be a lack of customer engagement and trust. Tata is about trust. There seemed to be a degradation of trust, which was like a big shock to us. A sense of compromise on the product and low value for customer time. They said they had to wait for long even if their problems were small. So here were the key areas that we found that we as designers could intervene, and we created or started working towards solutions. So this 1 month of immersion really helped us get under the skin of the business and talk about how we can change things, truly change things, make a design change through design thinking. So what did we do? Once again, we didn't jump into it and say we're going to start designing your spaces. We said we're going to start designing your programs. What you call a service center, we're going to call Excel Serve, and under it, we're going to tuck 3 kinds of services. One which is Express Serve, which is for quick, small problems. One is for 24-hour service, and the other is for warranties that the company will provide. And each one of them will have a name that the customers can actually use to talk about the service. We talked about employee engagement programs. We talked about customer appreciation programs, Aapki Rai, et cetera, and how to embed them in the system. And then, of course, we went into the design of the space. The project is currently being rolled out. Just a sneak preview, we totally changed the format. We said your facade needs to be iconic. It cannot just be a sign. So the entire facade is taken as a canvas. We link the Tata mark to Tata Motors. If some of you are familiar, Tata companies cannot use the Tata mark on their own, so we did the job of linking it through the strap. We added new colors. The Tata Group has not used new, fresh colors except the blue and white for eons since they had their new brand change. We actually worked with them at that time for their brand change. And we brought these colors to bring a spark into the dealership. We changed all the touch points. We heightened the blues, but we heightened the blues with this sense of efficiency and dynamism. We created spaces where the customer comes in and first gets to know the brand. They see the products. They're spoken to separately in little pods. And waiting spaces talked about excellence, customer experiences. We redesigned the entire signage system. We had new spaces for training staff. We also created, produced, and delivered highway signs for them for better visibility. So this was a huge one-year program. And this is what you see. Now, pharmaceuticals. How can pharmaceuticals benefit from design? Pharmaceuticals, once again, touches human beings when they're most fragile. It is when they need help. And they produce medicines or they produce the chemicals that go into medicines. And, there should not be a disconnect. The whole feeling that you're helping and serving communities is really critical. And what we as designers can do is bring that home and help transform the culture of an organization. So company-wide transformation, Piramal Group had an identity which was a small orange triangle, if some of you all remember, at the corner of all their packages. And what we did is we told their story to them. We worked very closely with Dr. Swati Piramal and Ajay Piramal. They were completely engaged, and this is so important that the stakeholders take ownership of the process. And we understood what they were about and how they believed in a certain spirituality that helped them do what they're doing. And we said, what better way to tell your story than to dance it? We actually got a Bharat Natyam dancer to our office, and we told them the story about themselves. So this story is about Buddha as king. He goes out into his kingdom and he sees misery. And he says, what am I doing? And he gives up his worldly desires and he says, I need enlightenment. I need to figure out what I can do to help people. And that's where he gains knowledge, and he says, it's all about care, it's about empowering people with care, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is actually the whole cycle of life. The whole cycle of life should be about extending yourself beyond yourself and about materialistic values and moving into an environment where you can help and empower people. And this is the story that we told through the dance. And we concluded it with the Mudra, the Gyan Mudra, which is the Mudra in which we know Buddha sat under the tree for enlightenment. And we gave them this logo, we contemporarized it, and we gave them their 3 simple values, knowledge, action, and care, and said, you don't need any tricks, you don't need any strap lines. This is what you all are about. And of course, we did their brand architecture, etc. Education, how am I doing on time? Education, how does one help education? Education is about creating distinction. Can we help institutions actually create distinction and separate themselves from the others by creating environments that are actually surround? We work with the Moneypal group. The Moneypal group is, of course, a vast campus for whoever hasn't visited it. It started with very humble beginnings, but now it's a large town, Moneypal town. It's a university town with many multiple universities teaching various subjects and disciplines. So they wanted one space within that town where parents and students can come and understand what the group does. These are quick snapshots of what we created. I'll take you through a film. It's called Inspired by Life. This is what their tagline is.
something in my life that will be able to change other people.
Pharmaceuticals.
Okay, I'm going to rush through the rest of the slides. So what we did is we created a visitor experience center where visitors can come and experience the entire story of Moneypal in one place. They have about 8,000 shows in a year. So this was great to know about it because this is what the intent was. How do we help realty companies? Realty companies are constantly looking at raising their bar by doing things differently, using different construction techniques. So we were approached by Kalpataru. They have a building, some towers, residential towers, luxury towers in Bandra, and we were asked to create something exciting for them. We decided we're not just going to create a facade that is boring. We're going to push the edge of technology and design and give them something that is truly wow. And this is what we created for them. We actually worked with a vendor to create unique panels. You can see there's not any repetition that dresses up the building and speaks about the whole story, this intricacy, the celebration of life through the facade. This was also a project that's just completed. So this is where design and engineering work well together. Corporate environments is another very, very big space for design and design thinking. The Geo group, Reliance Geo came to us and said, we need to create better environments for our people, better workspaces. Once again, at our company, we said it's about vitalizing workspaces. How can we change the future of work? This is a company that's changing the future of our lives. So we looked at their values and we said, can we embed your values, but not just as graphics? Can we actually create workspaces that encourage co-creation, innovation, and spirit of teams, spirit of working together and collaboration within one another? So what are their values? Trust, for example. We designed for them start centers. Start centers is where everything starts. It's the place where you have open discussions and ask questions, and this is what they look like. Humanity or being human was one of them. We decided to here encourage people to be human by designing for them plus pockets. Plus pockets are receptacles in which you can put your e-waste. Entrepreneurial journey is a very important part of their culture. We created leader libraries for them, which are like little spaces where you can actually read books as well as make presentations. These are some of the photographs of the spaces we've designed for them. We also developed what is very, very popular at Geo, which is the hot desk. It's a desk that moves around the space, and you know, there are so many people visiting, moving. Their consultants themselves move all the time. They can place it anywhere and have a station to work in, fully wired and set up. So this is what we've in fact, we're doing for Geo. I'm just going to touch upon design and government. I need 5 minutes. This government is doing very exciting things. There's a whole, we know all the programs that are going on today. We decided to ride on the wave of Make in India. We, in fact, at the Make in India show, we launched our own brand, which is called Amazing. It's furniture that we designed, and we design and sell online. We have our own platform. Astad Debu was kind enough to honor us with his presence in inaugurating the show. And our intent was design in India is fabulous. You can say arrivederci to Italian design and say hello to Indian design. And our designs and our products are world class. And this is what the website looks like. It's also world class. It's got all the features. So this is how we decided to ride on the Make in India platform. But then I spent some time going through the website of the government of India. It's a very impressive website. It's very different from what one has seen, or rather not seen, because one never wanted to step into that area earlier. This government has done a lot. It's an active site. Everything works. And if you go deeper, there is also a place for collaboration. I'm sure a lot of you all have interacted with this website. You can do things. You're invited to collaborate, participate, make suggestions. What worried me is there's a little corner. I think it's called Creative Corner. And what this Creative Corner does is it invites participation from people who feel that they have their creative juices flowing, who are not necessarily professionals, to come and participate in designing some of the icons and logos for a lot of government services. So for example, you would have something like the Postal Service saying, you know, can you, or the Sports Authority of India saying, can you design a logo for us? Now here is where I was a little shocked. And this is my personal view, of course, because while this is participative, what it does to design is it takes away the gravitas, the sincerity, the big picture thinking that I've been talking about, and makes it into a simple surface decorative art. Logo design, building brands, talking about stories, talking about how you can connect a brand with people. There's so much more to it than just the simple decorative art form. And there is a prize that goes out to people, 25,000, whatever it is. It actually is trivializing design. And I feel really sad to see it. And this is what we are getting. These are logos that we are getting by people who have all the right intentions and they want to participate. They're getting their 25,000. But this is what a lot of our major government initiatives and programs are going to be looking like. And, who do you blame? So it's scary. It's very scary for me when I saw this and then I saw this, Vijaya Bank on Twitter. They're asking people to participate in a logo design. These are large public sector organizations that have the opportunity, private or public, whichever it is, have an opportunity to reach out, connect, tell their story, build a narrative, create different ways of delivering their services, and all that can be created and efficiently managed by involving designers. As soon as you trivialize design and make it just a decorative art form, you've lost years of effort and professionalism and education in the design industry. I also try to look for where we fit in the ministries. Yes, there is a mention in Ministry of Culture. Yes, there is a mention in Ministry of Industries and Commerce. There's a small mention for design. When you look at websites of other countries, say the UK, they talk about how design is contributing 71.7 billion pounds. And it's recognized there's a sector for it. There's a huge amount of noise, government recognition. I try to look for it in India. Does anyone know what our contribution to the GDP is? I couldn't find it. I found the services sector. It's large and it's growing. I have all these references for anyone to tap into. I did a little research, went to the Brookings Institute, and I noticed that there are papers talking about how you can build a design economy in India, talking and specifying how design is critical to building the economy of India. I think the time is now to have a Ministry of Design. And with that, I think I'm within my time. Dream big. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Good on time? Questions, anyone? Yes. Yeah.
And then, so I'll repeat the question. So you mentioned about the 3M 20% time. Google implemented it.
The 3M?
20% time that they get, say, about some time to just do their own thing.
Yeah, the culture of innovation.
Yeah. So Google implemented that, and then like Google Maps, Gmail, all of what we use came out of it. But now Google has kind of walked away from it. So because like if you're working on your core project and then say 20% of the time you want to do something else, the rest of the team looks at you, hey, we're working our ass off. Why are you not kind of working on it? So they've moved away from it. So have you seen anywhere where it actually works?
Where it actually works. You know, this is very similar to what's actually happening not only in the idea, so the idea of inculcating an innovative culture is not only about giving that 20% time off, it is also about creating spaces which encourage collaboration and co-creation. So there are a lot of components that go into creating this kind of environment. It's not only, so if any corporation or any corporate or organization is encouraging innovation, it cannot be just about that time off. It's about actually creating a complete ecosystem where people can flourish and create entrepreneurship within the organization, which can then be supported to deliver goods to companies. So yes, Google, yes, 3M, I hope they're still successful. I'm hearing from you. It's not. Google is not. It's not. So something somewhere along down the line is going wrong. There are a lot of articles also that you will read in Forbes, in Harvard Business Review, etc., about how even the concept of creating open environments is sometimes counterproductive. So there's so much more. And here again is where design has a role to play. You need to understand where it's going wrong. We need to understand how we can ensure, because as a concept, it's a great concept. Can it work? Yes, it can work. How do we make it work? That is where design has a role to play, and we hope organizations call us. And like I said, we're working with Geo, and we've seen that whatever we are doing is being used by the people. They're enjoying it. They're sitting together where they were, earlier just sitting on their computers. So it's really about incremental change, not expecting people to shift cultures and thought processes, and being able to embrace what you give them and working with it. I mean, that's what I can say. Anything else? Anyone else? Yes? Yeah.
Typically, like for corporate designs, what you're doing, or for product or industrial designs, the challenge for corporations is to, from the concept to research to product design to commercial launch.
Yeah.
This is where it actually kills most of the corporates, because the changes are happening are so fast. So how, in these kinds of scenarios, designing companies like yours play a role?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question fully. You said
from the concept to the product,
execution?
Execution, because of the rapidly changing in the marketplaces, how do your companies actually support organizations?
So can you give me an example of what type of product you're talking about?
Any product. I mean, because the obsolescence is so high, even including the mobile phones or apps or softwares. From the time it takes the time in the research labs or the concept stage in organizations because of the organizational inertias,
Yeah.
to the final execution and commercial applications of the products or services.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge which most organizations have, and because of which innovation actually dies out.
I've switched on some slides that I had switched off.
Okay.
Because of the time constraint. I'm just quickly rushing back to it. This is what I'm saying. This is what we are bombarded with by the financial industry. Invest. Invest now. And this goes back to the title of my presentation. Sip your way to your dreams. Invest now. And there's Chintamani talking to us about how we can secure our future. I want to say the same thing to organizations. Invest continuously in design. Okay? Design is not like a magic wand. You come in and it solves your problems in one go. It is something that you have to constantly invest in. Start small, but involve designers in the thought process from the very beginning, from before the intent, when the first idea comes to your mind, and continue to invest in design in order to ensure that if there are any changes in the route, the designers are there to help rethink in creative manners how to reach your ultimate goal, or how to change track and still give you a resounding success. So this is something that I switched off because of time, but it's critical. Yeah. Mic. Who wants a mic? Is my time off? Over? Yeah. I think he's got the mic.
Yeah. What do you think is a student's role in creating a design identity in India? Like, of course you do it, but what do you think we as a student can do to,
You all are a part of an ecosystem. I'll tell you what students shouldn't do. Students shouldn't trivialize design. Students should not try and work on projects where they are not able to control the entire process. We're seeing not only students, but a lot of design companies that are just starting out, and they need a quick turnaround, they need quick projects. They're not actually executing design as a process. It is a process. It is not a quick solution. And therefore, I would actually encourage and urge students not to encourage that, because then what you hear from a lot of clients is, but A is doing it like that, why can't you? And we say, no, hold on. We're not doing this project unless you give us that one whole month to do immersion and understand who you are. Otherwise, don't bring us in. So this is what I'd say. So students need to be a part of the ecosystem. They need to believe in it. They need to have a voice for design and for the design industry. Yeah.
Excuse me. Hi. So how do you think we as students can actually spread this awareness for design process and actually bring that forward that, okay, you're not going to get a quick result. You need to give it time. You need to give the process a time.
So you need to be, you need to latch on to and be an active part of organizations such as ADI. How many of you know about ADI, Association of Designers of India? So ADI is an organization that is by designers and for designers. It's got an online site. You need to register. You need to voice, you need to say that you want to participate and volunteer so that we can have more and more programs. I'm involved with ADI. We had organized the event at Make in India in February, and we had called in a slew of designers who spoke as one with the public, with anyone who was interested in design. And so we often have, for example, the Pune Design Festival, that's also an ADI initiative. Yeah, so be a part of these organizations. You know, a lot of people say 500 rupees I have to pay. You know, that's less than what you spend on a meal. And it ensures you a year's participation where you can show that you have a voice for the industry. Yeah? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening and for being a great audience. Thank you.